The Fallout series is no stranger to spooky locales and happenings. In celebration of the spookiest month of the year, October, I'll be going over some of the scariest and creepiest things in the Fallout series. In this video, we're going to take a look at some of the locations in the Capital Wasteland that made our skin crawl just a little bit more than the others, for some reason or another. So here's 8 super spooky Fallout 3 locations. There is nothing quite as jarring while walking through a wasteland than seeing a beautiful and lush gardenscape, but that is precisely what we find in the settlement of Oasis. Travelers become drawn to Oasis from an unfamiliar sound, the song of birds. Once inside the settlement, it is effortless to see that it is far different than the rest of the waste. The sound, as mentioned earlier, of birds shows that animal life may well have been prospering here. The saturated green of the grass and plant life are a welcome but shocking sight so close to DC, a ravaged hellscape. Oasis starts to get a bit more creepy after you meet the locals, the Tree Minders. These peaceful tribals worship a unique FEV mutant named Harold, who at this point in his life has become part of a tree that started growing from his head, Bob, literally becoming rooted to the ground. The creep factor starts to set in once you realize that the sap you drank is likely some strange poison that has caused you to black out. And after this ritual, we finally get to meet Harold, who will express to you he has been stuck here, bolted to the earth, for decades, and he only wishes for death to free him from his fate.
Would you please kill me?
The Tree Minders, who have gained an affinity for him, will not allow this to happen, which leaves us with a dark choice. We either follow the Tree Minders' wishes, which would see Harold's strange ability to grow plants in the wasteland confined to Oasis or shared with the entire Capital Wasteland, but the other option is accept Harold's wishes and kill him, stopping his gift to the wasteland but setting him free from his perceived prison. The area can leave you with feelings of regret and sorrow, as Harold so clearly deserves to make this choice, but his gift of growth to the wasteland is invaluable. One of the first locations you are likely to see in your travels of the Capital Wasteland is Springvale Elementary School, a rural school that educated the children of the area before the war. Now, after the damage caused by the Great War and 200 years of wear and tear, its only inhabitants are raiders. The raiders that have set up camp here are known for abducting traders and wasters. Some of their victims' skeletons can be found in cages while searching through the building, with their biggest project being the targeting of the nearby Vault 101. The raiders would force scabs, abducted wastelanders, to dig a tunnel to try to breach into the Vault-Tec vault. The real horror of this place lies in the remnants of innocence that still lingers in the background. Classrooms still resemble what they were before the war. This is contrasted by the jail cells that are built inside the school, with much smaller, presumed to be children's skeletons inside them. Hard to say how they came to perish in the cells, but it certainly makes Springvale Elementary a place you won't soon forget. Another peculiar sight to see in the wasteland is a quaint little town. Most of the time, things are not exactly how they seem, and in the case of the self-professed greatest town in Virginia, Andale, things are no different. The demeanor of the residents alone is unsettling enough, but once you take it upon yourself to take a look around, the secret of the town reveals itself. Now, beyond the, let's call it odd, way that 4 families after the war could keep up a population this size,
he keeps saying stuff to my mom about keeping the family going and how when him and Mr. Wilson were brothers, they didn't want to get married. It's weird. That means Mr. Wilson is my uncle and Jenny is something. I don't know. It seems weird to marry her.
We find out that many have turned human travelers into dinner. All of the residents of Andale are proud cannibals. You can almost understand their reasoning though. I mean, hey, it is the wasteland.
It's always, oh, how can you do this? Or, you're such terrible people. Or, please not me, I have a kid in Rivet City. Well, I have kids too.
Now, the site of Relay Tower KXB811 is not really all that creepy by itself. It is where it leads you that is troubling. Once you turn on the switch, you will pick up Signal Oscar Zulu, a frequency from Bob Anderstein. telling you about the state of his son, who is held up with Bob and his wife in a drainage ditch to escape the falling bombs of the Great War.
If anyone can hear this, this is Bob Anderstein. My family and I have taken refuge in a drainage chamber not too far from a radio relay tower outside of D.C. My boy is very sick and needs medical assistance. Please help if you can. We are listening for your response on 3950 kilohertz.
At the time of this message, his son was presumably dying from radiation poisoning. Arriving at the drainage ditch that the signal leads us to, we can see the fate of his family. Their skeletons are now decorating their last home. Toys, medical supplies, and food litter the area. A family's last grasp at survival. Vault-Tec is known for their experiments on unknowing participants. The trial of Vault 106 is one of the most diabolical. The dwellers of this vault were exposed to psychoactive drugs via the ventilation shafts of the vault, driving most of them to madness. There is evidence to suggest that people who lived here even tried to blow their way out through the cave wall. When the lone wanderer dives into the vault, they are even susceptible to the hallucinations caused by these chems in the air, as these drugs are still being pumped into the vault at the time they arrive. Seeing images of the tunnel snakes and their father amongst the chaos of the actual danger of drug-crazed survivors. The mind games played here, as well as the genuine threat of the humans that reside in the vault, makes this one of the creepiest places in the Capital Wasteland. Not to mention the Overseer's attempts to cover it up to even the vault security, sending them a terminal message claiming that the unusual odor and faint taste in the air were due to an irregularity in the air filtration system, ordering them to ignore complaints. Upon first inspection, Vault 112 can seem eerie, but perhaps not spooky. Most vaults have a different way of operating, though it is a bit odd to be told to suit up by a robot as soon as you enter.
Welcome to Vault 112, resident. According to sensors, you have arrived 202.3 years behind schedule. Please redress in your Vault-Tec issued vault suit before proceeding. If you have misplaced your suit, I am authorized to distribute a new one.
Even seeing the pods, though strange, it doesn't really raise any red flags. Perhaps this is how people in this vault sleep, or maybe even a way of entertainment. Judging by the small televisions that accompany each pod, it is when we take a seat in one of them ourselves that the creepy feelings start to surface. There is something far too perfect about Tranquility Lane, an authentic glimpse into the time before the war. A kid with a lemonade stand, couples going for a walk through the park, and a small girl playing with her dog. One resident seems to be upset, crying out that none of it is real, but most seem to be ignoring her. It isn't until we actually talk to Betty, the small girl, that things start to unravel. Dr. Stanulus Braun has created this reality for the dwellers of Vault 112 as a sort of sick game, reveling in their despair for hundreds of years. In this simulation, he has taken the role of Betty. Betty will task the lone wanderer with doing terrible things to the occupants of Tranquility Lane with promises to help them with their quest. If we were to listen to Old Lady Dithers, though, we can turn on the failsafe and trap Braun in the simulation forever. It is very unsettling to think about being stuck like this, for both the residents and for Braun. The idea of living in a virtual world so literally, forever, and at the whim of a mad scientist, that is a fate worse than death. Deep in Georgetown, we can find a townhome that once belonged to the McClellan family. Nothing too spooky about that. There are many houses to see in the Capital Wasteland. Once we dive a little further into the home, we start to see an eerie picture being painted. The family that lived here before the war consisted of 2 adults, presumably a mother and a father, their 2 children, one a baby, a Mr. Handy robot, and the family dog, confirmed to be named Muffy. The skeleton of the oldest child still lies in bed. Activating the robot will cause it to continue its daily functions, attempting to walk the dog or even reciting a story to the skeleton of the child. Mr. Handy will read the poem There Will Come Soft Rains by Sarah Teasdale, a post-apocalyptic poem from 1920.
There will come soft rains and the smell of the ground, and swallows circling with their shimmering sound, and frogs in the pool singing at night, and wild plum trees in tremulous white. Robins will wear their feathery fire, whistling their whims on a low fence wire. And not one will know of the war, not one will care at last when it is done. Not one would mind, neither bird nor tree, if mankind perished utterly. And spring herself, when she woke at dawn, would scarcely know that we were gone.
Which inspired Ray Bradbury's short story of the same name. The story is about a robotic house that still carries out its duties even though the occupants are long gone after a nuclear war. The computer of the house recites the same poem. The lingering words from the reading will leave you with an eerie outlook on this type of future and really helps to drive home the horrors of nuclear war. On the outside, the Dunwich building looks like your typical decrepit relic from before the war. The building was home to the Dunwich Borers LLC, an excavation company. Once we enter it now, there's an eerie feeling in the area. Things just don't seem right from the beginning. No raiders, no scavvers, only the sounds of feral ghouls deep inside the building. The corridors are dark as night, and things only get worse from there. We can find audio logs from someone named Jamie who was unfortunate enough to have to come here to look for his father. As we go deeper, flashbacks of spirits from the past haunt our every turn. Doors open and close by themselves, objects seem to jump out at us, footsteps that belong to no one can be heard. And reaching the underchamber, we can find a strange obelisk being worshipped by ghouls, including Jamie. Strange whispers seem to be coming from the obelisk itself. This whole place is a giant reference to H.P. Lovecraft's work. The name of the building is taken from a short story, The Dunwich Horror, which deals heavily with the Necronomicon. To further this reference, the Krevbiknia, which can be found in a bowl of blood on a stone pillar deep within a ritual site in Point Lookout, can be destroyed here. The dark energy that surrounds this place is astounding. It is undoubtedly one of the spookiest places in the Capital Wasteland. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a very spooky month. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, consider leaving a like or even checking out the Patreon or YouTube channel member links below. If you want to see more spooky Fallout content, make sure to subscribe. I'll catch you guys on the next one. It has been Mantis.
I gotta testify. Come up in the spot looking extra fly. For the day you die, you gon' touch the sky. You gon' touch the sky, baby girl. Testify. Come up in the spot looking extra fly. For the day you die, you gon' touch the sky.